never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you this very fine evening? It's been a little bit wet in my part of the world at different times today, but we still managed to knock a tree down. No, nobody ran into it. We meant to knock it down, but interesting day. We didn't get in touch with Scott this morning at 5 a.m. I'm taking it on the chin. It might be my fault. I'm going to try it again for tomorrow morning, but after that, I don't know. We'll wait and see. I've sent a few emails and a couple of texts today and haven't heard anything, so who knows? But the Patriot Street Fighter may well be on the streets fighting for all I know, but he's not fighting in our part of the world at the moment. Bit of a pity, but anyway, we have our own battles to fight, and God knows they are a lot closer to home than what's happening in America. I'm not going to go deeply into it tonight because I've only heard a couple of reports late this afternoon about what's going on in our transport industry. And I can tell you, folks, that the report that I have got isn't flash. Western Australia are using truckies to try and get them out of debt. Now, our National Heavy Vehicle Association, the people, the guys that look after the trucks on the road, if you like, the people who pull the trucks over, they have just increased the fines from what was already a stupid amount of money, and they've doubled it to like $43,000. And that is for a logbook fine where you might have accidentally written down the wrong name of the town you were in, or in the case that I heard about today, the inspectors got into the truck illegally and downloaded the truck information and then compared that with the logbook information of the driver, and that indicated that the driver was 4 minutes late to his stop, his obligatory stop, 4 minutes late. And what happened? Huge fine. Huge fine. And when I say huge fine, I'm talking over $20,000. How many companies, how many truckies, how many people are going to continue on the road when those sorts of fines are being leveled at them over such pissant little things? Our truckies are subjected in this special court that they have to front. They are subjected to a certain type of hell that you and I don't get just yet, but I'm sure, give it time with the Albanese government, we will get it. What happens to a truck driver? Well, put it this way. If you are a drink driver and you get pulled over by the police, or worse still, you're a drink driver and you've had a car crash and somebody has died, not you, but you were the cause of it, and you were over 0.05 at the time. You go to court, you lose your license for a few years, you might go to jail, you might, but there's a big chance you won't. Let's say nobody died. You won't go to court, you won't go to jail. You will go to court, you'll lose your license, and you might get a fine of a couple of $1,000s. Somebody might be permanently scarred for life, permanently handicapped for life, or possibly dead. But you get a slap on the wrist and a year or two's ban from driving. A truck driver who is a couple of minutes late to a stop, a truck driver who makes an innocent mistake in his logbook, his or her logbook, and an innocent mistake, and many of you won't have had anything to do with logbooks. I have, and it is easy to make a mistake. It is easy not to know where you're pulled up at. If you pull up on the side of the road because you've gone 5.5 hours and that's as long as you can go, And that means you stop now. You don't, drive another 15 minutes to get to the servo where there's enough room for you to pull up. You have to plan your journey so that you are in a place where you can stop before your 5.5 hours is up. Otherwise, you will go to court and you will get lumbered with a $40,000+ fine and probably lose your license for God knows how long. Now, in that court, they tell the truck driver that you're responsible. You're carrying X amount of tons. You're, traveling at 100 kilometers an hour. You're the biggest thing on the road. You have a responsibility to be fresh and be refreshed and yada, 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 yada. And yet, the same person in a less than a heavy vehicle, let's say, but let's say something like this motorhome that I'm driving. This motorhome is 11 meters long and 2.5 meters wide. When I'm towing a trailer, I am closer to 16.5 meters long. I am a reasonable sized vehicle and I am not required to run a logbook. If you were driving an HR, heavy, rigid vehicle of this size and you were driving at great distances, you would be required to take a logbook, to run a logbook. If you are driving your car from here to Sydney, how many of you, well, Brisbane to Sydney, Melbourne to Sydney, how many of you do it in one hit, just stop for fuel? The truckies would love to be able to do that, but they're not able to. They have to stop every 5.5 hours and they only get to drive 11 or 12 hours and then they have to stop for an extended period of time. How many people die in car crashes? Drowsy drivers, inattentive drivers, all that kind of thing. How many of those people and those accidents happen on this nation's roads every day that don't involve trucks, but from inattentive drivers, lazy drivers, bad drivers? And God knows there are a lot of bad truck drivers. Most of them aren't Australian born, we're coming to find out. And if I have one good thing to say about the National Heavy Vehicle bastards, it is that they do appear to be taking a much greater interest in our Indian friends who have come into this trucking industry and decimated it. And I do say decimated. There are Indian-owned companies now here who are undercutting Australian companies when they're putting in quotes for different sorts of contract jobs. And this is where we're starting to get into trouble. Because the NHVR are going very hard on truckies right across the nation. It's a national organisation. And Western Australia is broke. Western Australia has a shitload of debt. So does Queensland, so does Victoria. But the West Australian NVR seem to have been taking a great deal of interest in the truckies and are taking every opportunity to if they find a discrepancy, they are taking every opportunity to make it the most severe, the most expensive, the most damaging fines that they can. And what I hear today is that the West Australian truckies are now saying that they will not go into South Australia because the South Australian NHVR Muppets are going twice as hard. Now, I'm not sure why South Australia would be working the West Australian side of their state at the moment and not the Eastern or Victorian side, although there are apparently some plans afoot to make the eastern crossings into South Australia much more perilous for truck drivers in this country. Our truckies, what's left of our truckies, what's left of our owner drivers, they are being run off the roads. And the first things to come off the roads will be the supermarket trucks. So your toilet paper is highly likely to start getting thin on the ground in the not too distant future. Don't go out panic buying, but wouldn't hurt to pick up an extra roll. Be aware that this is going to go on for a little while. And I would hope that we might help, after a little bit of pain, it might help some of these trucking companies to come on board with the Australian people to force the Australian government into change to force Australian government change into the NHVR. Now, I'm all for road safety, and I'm especially all for heavy vehicle road safety. I don't disagree that 5.5 hours is long enough to be driving one of these big rigs carrying anywhere from 60 to, well, depending if you're a B double or a triple or a quad, you could be carrying 120, 140 ton or pulling it. And I've driven heavy vehicles long distances. It is a mind drain. So I don't disagree with the brakes that are required if they are one-up drivers. Why wouldn't you put two-up drivers? That's what the Indian companies are doing. They are making sure that there are two drivers, possibly three, in the truck at all times. And I mean all times. These trucks are capable of filling up in Sydney and not having to go near a Bowser until they leave Perth, so they can fill up and come back to Sydney. And that's in many cases exactly what happens. There have been more than one, less than 5, I think, accidents that has been proven that there are commodes sitting between the seats in these trucks so that they don't even stop for a toilet break. They just crap beside each other. The reason they obviously figure this out is because when these bastards have a crash, they've not only got to strain the bodies out, but they've got to pull them out of the shit as well, I dare say. So our national heavy vehicle mob are raping the industry. They are a law unto themselves, and they have, in at least at the administration end of it, they have absolutely zero brains. I've had to deal with them over a $10,000 fine that I refused to pay. I couldn't pay it if I wanted to. A fine because I didn't go through a weighbridge. I'm not required to go through a weighbridge. I'm not a commercial vehicle. Yes, okay, I'm over a certain tonnage and I should go through the bypass, and I didn't. But the fact is, I'm not a heavy vehicle. And it was the first time I'd ever driven this thing and took it to Victoria. And I was advised when I picked this up that I didn't have to go through weighbridges because I am a motorhome, not a commercial business running out of, anything. It's not carrying anything. I'm not towing stuff in between states for people. I am not taking money for movement, which is where commerce and trucks come into it. But no, logic doesn't come into it. All that comes into it is bloody greed. And that is not, I don't blame the MVR guys, the people who are on the road doing this work. I blame the administrators and the government because it is their fault. Absolutely their fault. 100% their fault. We need to stop this country. I've been saying it for years now. We need to bring the country to a halt. Stock up on your toilet paper, because if we can somehow manage to block these roads, we will. We will stop the nation moving until the government comes to heel. There are a lot of plans afoot. I've thrown out many of them. There are many others who are doing the same thing. One of the bigger plans involves farmers. But guess what? I'm finding a lot of you are weak, gutless bastards. You have the ability to stop this, but you're too weak. You're worried. Oh. How much old farm machinery have you got lying around on your properties that's rusting and giving iron back to the soil? Stuff that can't be identified, stuff that's been so old it doesn't have serial numbers, never been registered in its life, but you have the equipment to move it and to dump it in the middle of a road, put up some warning signs, and move away. Don't dump it in front of your property. But that can happen across every major road in this country if the farmers get behind it. All the farmers have to do. And God knows, they've got a list of complaints. As long as all our arms put together, you would think they would be champing at the bit to get out and help this. And there are certain ones that are, don't get me wrong. Wade and his crew through Billboard Battalion, a lot of the Victorian people down there are very motivated to, do what they can to stop not just the local state government, but, we have a federal issue here, a federal issue where the industry that keeps this country moving is now being attacked by a bunch of bureaucrats who see it simply as a money pit. And they will take every opportunity for even the most minor infraction to issue the maximum penalty. And they've just doubled those penalties. So be prepared, folks. It may not happen this week, it may not happen next week, but trust me, it is going to happen. And the country will come to a grinding bloody halt. Absolutely friggin' disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, Barry sent me a letter that he got back from Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott has been sending a lot of letters out to people now that he's become president of the Liberal Party. Here's what he had to say. Barry had sent him a number of letters, none of which were terribly complimentary, I'm pretty confident. But here is the letter that he got back. Dear Barry, thanks very much for your response to my letter. Well over 200,000 people opened it, so it was a mail out. It really wasn't a letter. 200,000 people opened it, and about 1,800 people responded. Would you call that a good response, Tony? I guarantee probably a good 190,000 of them just threw up a little bit of vomit in their mouth when they received your email. Anyway, of those, over half welcomed the party's new management. Bullshit. About half agreed with the country is in deep trouble, and about a quarter wanted working together to give Australia a better government. Oh, yeah. Like you, I can read the polls. Interpretation seems to be a problem, but he can read them. While the majority of Australians would now like a change of government, there is an unprecedented split on what's the best alternative. And while many of you have noticed Angus Taylor's determination to stop the toxic taxes, end mass migration, abolish net zero, and put Australia first, I'm sorry, let's just go back. Angus Taylor and the Liberal Party helped get us into the position we are, with the toxic taxes, with the mass migration, with the net zero. And they certainly had not, in the last 20 years, put Australia first. The chutzpah of Tony bloody Abbott. Anyway, some people are sceptical about the extent of the party's change of heart or its willingness to do much about government. Sceptical isn't the word, Tony, you fucking liars. That's all you are. While it is the parliamentary party's job to set and to implement policy and to provide strong political leadership, you can be confident that the new federal executive will support Angus and his team to continue to be bold and resolute. While we certainly won't win the next election as slaves to focus groups and to being a little less woke than Labor. No, you won't. I would be disgusted if you got anywhere near running or leading the country. You have lost the Liberal Party, the Labor Party, the Nationals. They have lost the confidence of the country. They are part of the problem here. They are responsible for doing this to us. They made it possible. They could have changed the laws brought in by the red-headed clown. They could have put women, the word women or woman, back into our Sex Discrimination Act. But oh no, they didn't. They sat with their thumbs up their asses and complained and whined and did nothing except work against us. And now that One Nation have managed to convince the people that they do apparently work for us, now the Liberal Party have had a change of heart. And now they've got Tony Abbott writing letters to 200,000 people, 1,800 of which bothered to reply. And I would love to know how many of those replies were positive, because I can guarantee you Barry's wasn't. And the one that I won't read it, but the one he replied to here isn't polite, isn't pleasant. It tells Tony Abbott the truth, or whatever minion he has at Liberal Party headquarters to read these things. Maybe they just type in and into AI and get this kind of a response. But anyway. Well, you can be confident about our collective determination to work constructively with others who also want a change of government. Well, we the people want the change of government, Tony, and you won't work with us. You've proven that your party will lie to us. You've proven that your party has no responsibility to the Australian people because it has been bought off by the elites of the world. You are part of the World Health Organization. You are part of the World Economic Forum. You are part of the control measures that are being leveled against the people of this world. And you think we haven't woken up yet? Fair dinkum. For a man with really big ears who could do some good listening once, you've lost it, mate. You've lost it completely. And be under no apprehension at all. The Australian people have lost faith in you. You might have a few of your dyed-in-the-wool blue friends still with you, but I guarantee you, you do not have enough to win government. I guarantee you, you barely have enough to win a seat, let alone half a dozen. The Australian people, rightly or wrongly, are going to vote One Nation forward. The Australian people are going to put their faith into Pauline Hanson's One Nation because, at least in their minds, she has not lied to them yet. And while there might be many questions about allegiance, and I certainly have a few, there is no doubt she will, on face value, do a much better job for Australia than anybody in your Liberal Party or anybody in the Labor Party, and potentially everybody bar one in the Nationals. And that bar one is Alex Antic. Oh, Alex Antic has the opportunity to do some pretty good things, I think. Alex Antic, I think he's a Liberal, not a National. Alex Antic is the one who is making noises about joining One Nation. Alex Antic is the one who is putting the pressure on his Liberal or coalition colleagues to wake up. But I think the damage is done. And I've seen an interview with, I think it was Pauline, who said, we're being approached by members from both sides, Liberal and Labor, Greens, to come and join One Nation. And they're not going to take them. She said, no, we won't take any of them. They've all been complicit with it. She said, I've got my eye on 2 or 3. And if they say and do the right thing and can prove that they're doing the right thing, then yes, we might welcome them in. But the rest of them are gone. Certainly the ones in the upper leadership positions, gone. There might be some good people still on the backbench, potentially of both parties, because I know that there are at least 2 Labor backbenchers who are exploring One Nation and defection to it. And I know that there are more than 2 in the Liberal Party who are very definitely looking at defecting. But then they have a problem. Defecting to Pauline Hanson means Pauline Hanson and One Nation have to accept them. And then One Nation have to make the argument why getting somebody who was part of the problem in one of the major parties into their party, what difference is that going to make other than usurp her leadership or the leadership of One Nation? So I'd be with Pauline. I'd look at Alex Antic. I can't think of too many. I'd be trying to convince Ralph Babbitt. Babbitt's a good man. I don't know why he and Clive had their falling out or what that was all about. I'm not sure that they have had a falling out. It's more the fact that I think that Babbitt has seen Parliament for what it is, a filthy, disgusting cesspool of high school bullshit, and he's disgusted by it. And so am I. All you need to do is go and watch one day of Senate estimates. Bounce around through the committees and look at the smug faces on people like that bitch Gallagher. I'm going to say bitch. We'll get to that later on. Or witch. Maybe I should say witch. That witch Gallagher, Katie Gallagher, the Minister for Finance, the one who speaks for the Treasurer. Boy, hasn't she... Anyway, there's a lot of stuff about to come out about her. And she's got the hide of a rhinoceros. So you won't see her get embarrassed. You won't see, and like all Laborites, you won't see them get embarrassed. They feel it's their right to screw us. So keep watching this space. There is a bit more coming your way. It's encouraging to see that the ABC might be fronting up to the Anti-Semitism Royal Commission, although I have no faith in the Anti-Semitism Royal Commission, and the fact that the ABC and the other major outlets are going to be hauled into it really isn't going to make that much difference. These These media organizations have been complicit from the word go. They have been part of the bullshit. And if you think that this Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism is actually going to get you anything, anywhere, anyway, anyhow, I don't think that's going to work out very well. There have been some interesting things being said about Israel in the last 24 hours. One of the more interesting ones is Donald Trump getting a phone call from Iran saying, listen, we're happy to go with the ceasefire, but get Israel to play the game with you. So Trump has rung Bibi and said, pull your head in, stop firing weapons, stop attacking Iran, get out of Lebanon, a few other bits and pieces, or, and I found this very interesting, you could find you'll be fighting Iran by yourself very shortly. Now, I've been saying for, well, more than a little while that Donald Trump is playing a very impressive game of chess, and that a lot of things are said and done in public to create reactions, and those reactions belie the people beneath them. They show who's going to come out of the woodwork. And this is why we think, and I definitely do think, that Donald Trump is playing a game of 5D chess, and the world gets emotional. It gets caught up in his outbursts, and they start reacting. And what happens when they start reacting? Well, they start exposing themselves. Now, Donald Trump and the Americans aren't interested in you or me or anybody else who gets upset about what he says. They're interested in the elites who go to the media and what media they go to. Now, at the moment, well, let's go back a little bit. Tucker Carlson had a sellout tour of Australia, thanks in small part to Clive Palmer, who brought him out. A sellout tour of Australia. He did Perth, Brisbane, Sydney and Canberra from memory, or did he do Melbourne as well? And sold out shows. Huge Trump supporter. Rah, 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 Trump, get behind it. The world's going to be better. And got to say, Clive was on board with all of that as well. Now, of course, Tucker isn't with Trump, or outwardly at least. And have a look at who else isn't. Megyn Kelly seems to be on the outer with the Trump administration, and quite a few others who have been very much attached at the hip to Trump for years. And yet they've all flipped because he's done something a bit weird, or he's done something a bit strange. This whole war with Iran did a lot to change people, did a lot to flip people. It's also done a lot to show people a lot of what I've been saying here about Israel and the Zionists for years. It has exposed Israel and the Zionist Israelis for what they are: murderous, bloodthirsty bastards. I told you 6 months ago, 4 months ago, that they were going to target Turkey next. What did we see a couple of weeks ago? Some minister out of Israel telling the world that Turkey is a threat to Israel. And they're going to start looking at Turkey once they clean up Lebanon. Do you know what will happen if that stupid move were to take place? Turkey, Iran, and Russia will wipe Israel off the map. Could that be the plan? I'm not saying they're going to wipe the Jews off the map. I think they'll put a very big hole in the banks, or at least the ranks of the Zionists. I think you'll see a lot of them swinging from telephone poles and anything else that you can raise a rope on. But mucking around with Turkey isn't going to help Israel or the Jewish people in any good way. And I know a lot of very good Jewish people who don't want anything to do with the Zionists that run the country. In fact, I'm so glad that people are starting to be aware of the difference between a Zionist Jew and a Jew. Because the Zionist Jews, they're the ones who are all about power and control. They're the ones who manipulate, work in the shadows, and do the dastardly stuff that nobody likes to think about, but they certainly are very good at doing. Well, at least they used to be. Netanyahu has had a bit of a problem with Mossad recently. Now, the head of Mossad got killed in an Iranian missile attack 6 weeks ago, and they appointed a new one. He got sacked over the weekend or last Friday, and his new appointment sacked the deputy in charge of Mossad yesterday. Something's gone on at Mossad. It's being cleaned out from the top down. I find that very interesting at this time of year. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Diane. Well, yeah, they're called Jews because they follow the religion Judaism, only they're not true Israel. Yeah. So Judaism, the tribe of Judah, Judea, all that sort of stuff. Yes. However, the Zionists have managed to get control. And for whatever reason, the good Jews aren't doing too much about it, which isn't helpful. What can they do about it? Well, it doesn't seem like they can vote Bibi Netanyahu out, so that could be a problem. Now, Israel have been fighting for years, and obviously Palestine has been the sticking point, if you like, for all of this. Now, I saw a very interesting Senate estimates conversation where the Department of Foreign Affairs or somebody like that was asked about Palestine and why it was created or given a state or called a state by Australia, if you like, given state status, like its own country. Palestine has never been a country. And the senator who was asking questions of these people said, can you name me the capital of Palestine? Can you show me the borders of Palestine? And of course they couldn't, and they wouldn't respond because there is no capital of Palestine. There never has been. There are different cities or camps, but there is no capital. It's never been a state. And in fact, if you go back through history, there has never been a Palestinian state in that part of the world, ever. But be that as it may, I don't subscribe to the theory that what Israel has done to Gaza is okay. Israel has razed Gaza to the ground. Israel has killed over 80,000 people. Now, I've forgotten the exact number of people killed on the October 7 attack a few years ago in Israel. I want to say it was a couple of hundred. It might have been more. But it wasn't 80,000. The damaged buildings in that raid on October the 7th a few years ago were tents or people's cars. It was an outdoor festival they were at. It wasn't their homes, their dwellings, their businesses that were destroyed by missiles fired from Israel, fired from Israeli jets. And Israel is still pounding its way through Gaza. It is still pounding its way through Lebanon under the guise of cleaning out the terrorists. There's one bunch of terrorists that I can see in the Middle East at the moment, and currently they're running Israel. And Donald Trump just told them so. Now, I would love to see Donald Trump say, we're out, you're on your own. Because late this afternoon, there have been multiple reports that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. It has several. And they are ready to go. Iran has issued some very stern warnings to Israel via America. And the Americans have said, Bibi, you're on your own if you don't pull your head in, mate. So all of that comes together at a very interesting time. Now, whether or not Iran has nuclear weapons, whether or not they're building a facility to process uranium and build more of those weapons in a location deep under a mountain that even the American B-2 bombers with their MOABs and deep penetrating bunker-busting bombs cannot reach. What are you going to do? What's America going to do? That would require boots on the ground. And Donald Trump has signaled that's not going to come from American boots. So then that leads us to Israel. How many boots can Israel put on the ground? Well, every Jew has done some form of service in the military. It's a compulsory thing. And there are a lot of Australian Jews who have been to Israel and served. In fact, there is one amongst us that we're all very aware of who's been to Israel and served and proudly bragged about shooting a little boy in the head. And it wouldn't be the only thing he'd shot, I am absolutely sure. But there has been an interesting hypothesis put forward about what could happen to those Australians who have been over to Israel to defend the motherland. And Avi might be in a bit of trouble.
We have under the Commonwealth criminal law Australian domestic criminal offences relating to the commission of war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide anywhere in the world. So our law covers this. This is not just international law, this is our law.
Yeah, our law. Okay? Our law covers you going overseas and killing somebody or participating in a war for the nation you share some allegiance to.
Australian individuals, some are dual citizens, serve in the Israeli Defence Forces. And many soldiers or former soldiers come to Australia. Our Commission of Inquiry has found since June 2024 that the State of Israel is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza, both individual acts and, importantly, through the whole pattern of strategy and operations there. We have said that any soldier, airman, aircrew, surveillance personnel, radar personnel, naval crew who have had any involvement in the war in Gaza is a suspect who should be investigated and, if the evidence warrants it, prosecuted, and, if a court is satisfied, convicted. The necessary consequence of that is that anyone, whether an Australian citizen or not, who seeks to enter this country, having served in any arm of the Israeli military in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023, should be treated as a suspect and investigated and, if necessary, prosecuted.
Here, here. Absolutely. Absolutely. If Ben Roberts-Smith can be charged with war crimes, then so should every Jew that has gone home to fire a gun over that wall into Gaza. Every one of them. Let's see if we can make that happen, folks. There is a lot they have to answer for. A great deal. Are you going to go and help the Labor Party? They need your help. I told you this a week ago. Mainstream media have just picked it up, though. $27. They're begging people. Please give us $27 because we need your help to defeat one nation. 99% of people reading this won't contribute, they say. We hope you'll be different. Yeah, there'll be the 1% died-on Labor supporters who'll throw their last $2.50, out of the pokey machine at them. No problems at all. But I don't think it's going to help them in any way, shape or form. And it's an embarrassment. The Labor Party have enriched themselves through unions their entire existence, and they enrich themselves very well, thank you very much. The Victorian Labor Party, which funnels money and favours into the federal Labor Party, has $15 billion that has just gone missing out of the Victorian state coffers into the unions, into the big build system controlled by the unions. How much of that money is going to be washed through those unions and donated back to the Labor Party for a criminal advertising campaign to try and keep themselves elected by telling fucking lie after lie after lie to us? It should not ever be allowed. But in Victoria the other day, it took all night. Many Victorian Liberal ministers were making TikToks at 5:30 in the morning after Labor had voted themselves in a new donation law package, which basically means nobody can donate anything to any party unless it's Labor. No big donations anyway, unless it's Labor. You can fund us back into power, no problems at all. And of course, that stupid cow Jacinta Allen, well, she's the witch, isn't she? Thank you, Daniel. Love your work, mate. I really appreciate it. So today, Albanese has come out. Oh, you can't go talking about her like that. It's a really bad thing to be talking about women like that, except this is a party who can't tell you what a woman is. This is a party who refuses to acknowledge what a woman is, or that woman might require a bit of protection under the law from people who would use their illness to cross-dress and be something they're not. Now, I'm not going into the psychology or they're trapped in somebody else's body. I don't care. I don't care. I've got a mate who's recently transitioned, right? Coolest guy I'd ever known for years and years and years. Pops up on Facebook the other day, transitioned. Okay, well, if that's what he feels he has to be, then I'm happy for him to be that. Doesn't infect me, doesn't infect my life, doesn't mean anything. But would I support rights for trans women going further so they can go into a ladies' change room? No, I wouldn't. No, I don't support that. He can go and get changed with the blokes. Or she, or whatever. It's no more offensive for a man pretending to be a woman to get dressed or changed in a men's change room than it is for a man pretending to be a woman to get changed in a women's change room. Is it? Is there anything less offensive about that? No. No. The craziness in this country has to end, folks, and the only way it's going to end is if we stop it. Because I'm not completely sure there is any political party that will stop it. They've all been so very badly involved in particularly the COVID bullshit. That has, the last 6-7 years and probably the 10 years before that while they were prepping for it. Well, let's get on to the COVID thing. And Sandy, I am so sorry to read what's going on with your mum. For those folks who don't know, Sandy from the Donkey Sanctuary's parents, who are in their 90s, were at home the other day. Sandy went in to see them, and when she arrived, there was the local chemist or whatever it is sitting there giving them the jab, giving them the update, giving them the booster, giving them the flu shot, giving them bloody everything. This happened one day last week. Tonight, Sandy's mum is in the hospital in Newcastle, John Hunter Hospital. She's getting emergency care. She's got blood clots in her neck. Sandy, I am so sorry. And I know your mum is a believer in the shots, and so is your dad. It's a great shame that many of our older folks have been led up this path, coerced up this path, or have just been brainwashed enough to accept it. And your mum and dad are not alone in that regard. It is just terribly, terribly sad. And the fact that there is so much evidence now being presented publicly about this, and they still choose to do this, sort of surprises me greatly. But here's a tale of 4 Australians, professors. What do Professors Scolyer, Allen, McLaws and Johnston have in common? All have doctor before their names and AO after it. All have died from turbo cancer, which was most likely caused by the COVID vaccine that they promoted. All didn't need the vaccine, but chose to have it to advance their careers. All knew that mandates are the tools of bullies, criminals, and dictators. All lived by the system, advanced by the system, and eventually were killed by the system. All will be remembered for not speaking up when they could have stopped the madness. Don't believe that? Believe this. 8.4 million people were studied. The mRNA shots are linked to turbo cancer explosion around the world. This is a South Korean study. Prostate cancer up 68.7%. Lung cancer up 53.3%. Thyroid cancer up 35.1%. Stomach cancer 33.5%. Colorectal cancer 28.3%. That's a pain in the ass. And breast cancer 19.7%. Do you still think it's a coincidence? The good thing about it is that this evidence is now being collated by scientists, researchers who know, or at least suspect, that the global population have been taken for a very, very bad ride. At the moment, I saw a thing with Alex Jones today where he happened to be at an airport where Fauci's right-hand man was lined up to get on a plane. And Alex has run up to him and said, "Oh, g'day, whatever your name is. We're coming for you. You know, you and Fauci, you should both be in jail. We know what's going on." And this fella was horrified. He said, "They're coming for you. We are going to come for you. You are going to die. You're going to be hung for what you've done." And this guy shit himself, standing publicly in a queue lined up to get on a plane somewhere. They are shit scared, and they should be. So should every doctor. So should every chemist. And Sandy, I don't know that you want to get that involved. It's only a little town, but I'd be walking into your chemist tomorrow and telling them exactly where your mother is and what's wrong with her and saying, "Do you think there's any correlation?" And if they say no, show them this. Unfriggin' believable. The lies propagated by Labor and Liberal. Because bear in mind, ScoMo was in the lead up to COVID. ScoMo put all this shit in place. ScoMo fed us the mandates. ScoMo coerced us. It was the Liberal Party who did the hard yards and the Labor Party who cleaned up. The Uni Party, are you figuring it out yet? I don't give a flying turd what Tony Abbott thinks he can achieve with the Liberal Party. The best thing that could be achieved with the Liberal Party is for it to be disbanded. For them all to become independent and have to fight for something they actually do believe in. Or is it actually be allowed? Because I think in the party system, the party political system, the party system that is outlawed by our own constitution, the party system will run these people down, run them over, or run them up the flagpole if they do the right thing. Not by the Australian people, but by whoever's controlling the Uni Party. And we all know that is a foreign belligerent organisation. It's not a government, a foreign belligerent organisation. Boy, the disclosure that is coming up isn't all about aliens, folks. The disclosure, more and more of it coming out about Israel every day, coming out about COVID every day, coming out about the American stock market. That's not coming out every day, but boy, it's getting a pounding. And the Australian stock market today has done, well, I didn't hear that it's gone down. If it has gone down, nobody in mainstream media is talking about it. But the price of silver is gone up. It's gone up about $2 since last night. And it seems to be pretty steady at the moment. That can change. It just goes to show the level of suppression that has been put into that market and why we are all waiting for the bonus that we are hoping will come our way sooner rather than later. I know so many people who have invested with Ainsley or through Ainsley's and have developed a stockpile like I have. I mean, my stockpile is this big, but others have done very, very well. I would urge you, buy in the dip. Keep buying now. Go and get something online at ainsleyBullion.com.au tonight, because that price will be held, whatever you lock it in for now will be held, and you don't know what's going to happen when that market opens in America. And overnight, things could change dramatically. Silver, you saw silver prices and gold for that matter go through the roof in December last year, January, and then late January, you saw them drop through the floor. We were up to nearly $170 an ounce for silver there at one stage. Now, are we going to get back there? God, I hope so. God, yes, I believe so. So if you have the ability to get yourself a little bit of that, then I would be going and getting myself a little bit of that. Thank you, Vince, for putting up the markers. So you can see the level of suppression that the market has been undergoing lately. Gold has also been pushed back, but it's still at well over $6,000 an ounce. And I think, going forward, if you do have the ability to pick yourself up an ounce or a kilo or a couple of kilos, God bless you, if you can do that, then go and do it. Buy in the dip. Buy it when it's cheaper. It would have been $2 cheaper last night if you'd have bought it, put it that way. So per ounce. And that works out if you're buying a bit of weight. Also, remember, if you are going to buy online, or if you're going into an Ainsley Bullion store, either on the Gold Coast, in Melbourne or in Brisbane, then make sure you use my name or the Voice of Freedom, and you will get a little discount. Now, it's only a 15th of a bee's whisker, but it's a discount, and it's better than anybody else in this country will give you, because I don't know of anybody else who's given away discounts to buy silver and gold at the moment. Pardon me. So if you're in the market, use my name, you'll get it for that little bit off. And yes, I don't have strictly no financial advice from me. I'm just telling you what I would do if I had the money. And I don't, so I won't be doing it, but I know you do. Thank you very much to Daniel for the $20 that he put up in the chat there before. And I don't know. We'll put it to good use. It'll either go to feed me or the bus, one of the two. So I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I won't be buying any silver with it. How much time we got? We got another few minutes yet. So I do have a couple of other things I'd like to talk to you about, particularly about COVID. Now, this whole thing with Sandy's parents has really upset me tonight. I only saw it just before we started the show. These bastards need to be made responsible for what has occurred. And there are now whistleblowers coming out. And this bloke that I'm about to play you is a guy called Michael Yeadon, who is an ex-Pfizer executive. He's not a Pfizer employee as such. That makes him sound like a low-grade whatever. This fella at Pfizer was a biochemist. He created medicines, that kind of thing. And he has come out and made some very, very big statements.
There has not been a pandemic. Dennis Rancourt's data shows that the all-cause mortality evidence data did not increase at all in the run-up to the declaration fraudulently by WHO of a pandemic. There is no public health emergency except that created by our governments. An inappropriate, fraudulent PCR test was used to give people the impression that they had a particular disease where they didn't. There were all the normal diseases. And then what happened was, in 3 different ways, people were treated badly through changed medical procedures that were imposed above the level of nation. Briefly, mass ventilation of people inappropriately in hospitals that led to lots of deaths. In care homes, many people were given sedatives and respiratory depressants, which led to their deaths. My PhD was specifically in that area of opiates and respiratory depression. And in the community, people were denied life-saving antibiotics and died of bacterial pneumonia. There's your pandemic. There is no other pandemic. And based on this lie, we were told that vaccines were coming our way and would be our savior. Two things. As I say, first, there's no pandemic, so you certainly don't need an experimental, rushed medical intervention. But secondly, even if you did, as someone who's worked in the industry for over 30 years, I am telling you, it's absolutely impossible to invent, test, clinically evaluate, and manufacture and then launch on global scale a complex biomedical product. It's absolutely impossible. It's not as close. It's years wrong. The fastest record prior to this was 6 years. And friends of mine who've worked all their lives in manufacturing of complex biological products tell me the methods development alone for the development of a reproducible manufacturing process itself takes a number of years. So whatever it is you think was done, I am telling you, there was not the development of a proper medical product. What I think happened was the advancement of materials that are intentionally toxic, and then they were sketchily advanced and jammed into people's arms, often coerced, sometimes even mandated, with the unsurprising effect that millions of people have died. So I think having heard what I've just said, that there was no pandemic, and the lie was maintained in order to inject people en masse, I think 5.5 billion people, with an intentionally dangerous substance, 17 million of whom have died so far.
17 million. There's a lot more coming. Now, Australia has had inquiries, senators looking into it, I think, at the moment, and America in the Congress, Republican Ron Johnson last week put up quite an investigation where they invited speakers from around the world to the Congress to answer questions about what they found throughout this whole little juncture. And what's Ron Johnson finding at the end of all of that? He's finding mainstream media aren't going to cover it at all.
First of all, thank you for covering this, because the legacy media is not. They're ignoring it. They're covering it up. But here's the gist of what we uncovered. On March 1st of 2021, less than 3 months after the emergency use authorization, the head of the division within FDA that approves vaccines and then is supposed to surveil for its safety was warned that their safety surveillance system was going to hide and mask safety signals. 26 days later, a different data run using a different algorithm showed 25 safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, Bell's palsy, other types of strokes. For 3 successive months, they had additional data runs, more cases of stroke and sudden cardiac death, and they hid it. They are continuing to hide it to this day. It's a major scandal. I certainly intend to continue to dig into this. We're starting to interview people that were involved in this right now. I'm going to meet with Secretary Kennedy tomorrow. Hopefully we don't have to subpoena records. He doesn't want that. I don't want that either. But he's being sabotaged within these agencies. So again, this is a massive government cover-up, not only inside these agencies, but in the legacy news media. Anybody involved in this, they don't want to admit they're wrong. They don't want to admit these shots that they imposed on the American public could have killed or disabled people. That's why, Rasmussen reports 24% of Americans believe they know somebody who died from that COVID shot. It's shocking this is being covered up to the extent it is.
Covered up. We're coming for you. Doesn't matter where you are. You stuck your head up, you put your signature on the paperwork, and you jabbed it into people's arms. You didn't question it. You didn't follow the legal guidelines of informed consent. All you did was comply. Weak, gutless bastards. I look forward to seeing you weep when they put the noose around your neck. At least if they can't do that, I might arrange a few dickheads off the roads to meet you.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!